Hello, my name's Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast from May 4th to May 10th of 2014. Human design is a synthesis of four ancient wisdom systems as a bridge to understanding our potential to discover our path and making decisions that are correct for us as individuals. And those traditions are astrology, the I Ching, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and the Kabbalistic tree of life. So we're going to look at how these systems work together in human design. We start by looking at the position of the planets, the sun, the moon, the earth, the nodes in the wheel, much like we would in astrology, except instead of comparing them, looking at them as they relate to zodiacal constellations or to each other by the angles that they make, we look at them in relationship to the hexagrams of the I Ching, which are on the outside of the wheel. And those are then mapped to specific locations in the body graph here. On May 4th, we have the sun. It's in Taurus, but it's in the second hexagram, and when we look all the way out, we can see the stacks of lines. They're numbered from bottom to top, and we have 6 yin lines for the second hexagram, the most receptive and of all the hexagrams in the I Ching. The shapes inside the body graph are called centers, and they represent the next stage in our evolution as humans from having the 7 chakras that many of us know about to now having 9 centers, and this mutation happened in 1781, coincidental to Herschel's discovery of the planet Uranus. The pathways between the centers are called channels. They're from the Kabbalah. And these black strips of paper on the chart here are gates that are being activated by the sun, the planets, and the nodes, regardless of whether they form a channel. I'm not covering the moon in this demonstration. It moves very, very fast. It activates 3 to 4 gates in a single day, which would turn this presentation into a several-hour experience. And as a 5-1 profile, I just really don't feel that's a practical thing for me to present. Anyway, we start out, we've got the sun. It's in the second hexagram, and it's mapped to an opening in the energy channel called a gate. The second gate is the gate of higher knowing, the receptivity as a primal base through which any response is determined, the root of action. It's located in the G center here, in an individual energy path in the knowing circuit called the channel of the beat, the design of it being the keeper of the keys, and that connects down to the 14th gate in the sacral center. This is the gate of power, skills, possession, in great measure. Anyway, I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I now use this as my primary tool when I provide readings. We have the following activated gates. On the 4th, we have the sun again in the second gate. We have the earth is in the 1st. We have the north node in the 50. The south node in the 3. Mercury is in the 23rd gate. Venus is in the 25th gate. Mars is retrograde over here in the 48th gate, the well. We have Jupiter in the 53rd gate. Saturn also retrograde up here in the 43rd gate. Uranus is in the 21. Neptune is in the 37, and Pluto is over here in the 38, and it's also retrograde. So obviously not every great activation forms a channel, but this information can be really helpful if you know your human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com, click on the button that says get your free rave chart, and enter in your birth information. But basically the neutrino forecast is like a weather report. And so no matter what the weather is, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of what the program has going on. And as Ruhu said, whatever the weather, is going to be you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. So we begin the week with one channel definition. We've got Mercury in the 23 and Saturn in the 43. This is the channel of structuring, and it's going to be with us until May 4th. So just at the very beginning of this report period, it actually comes back later on. But this is about individuals having an amazing insights that require two conditions to be fulfilled to be recognized by others. First, the person who has an epiphany needs to wait to be invited to share his or her insight. And second, they need to explain their idea in a step-by-step process so that their audience can methodically understand how this quantum leap in thinking was arrived at. More likely, this is going to be a time period where people just blurt out whatever's on their mind, so I suspect we will encounter more freaks than geniuses during the time of this definition. And as we're going through the daily information, we're going to be looking at the sun's rave I Ching line values because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come through the sun. And as Ra Uru who said in Design Perspective number 56 in his presentation titled Living with the Program with Ra Uru, the lines of the day, when talking about these daily line values, he said, we can take advantage of the themes of the day. Now, if your strategy and authority does not lead you in that direction, you can just kind of always notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. May 4th, the sun is in the second hexagram. It's in the first line of intuition at the very beginning of the day. Sensitivity to disharmony and atrophy, exalted the importance of aesthetics, whether inborn or acquired. Higher knowing through aesthetics. Detrimented is the assertion of ego in spite of wisdom. The urge for action that will ignore the wisdom of the higher self. And whenever we're experiencing a first, second, or third line day, people tend to be looking more inward. They're absorbed in their own process. The theme of a first line day is fear or anxiety. Excuse me. And it's a fear that needs to be investigated. It's a day to study, not a day to act. It's a day to look into things, not to jump. It's a good day to deal with things you don't understand, and so that you can look into them, maybe get some foundation information through your investigation, through your research, and then later on the 4th, the sun moves into the second line, so it moves from the investigative line into the line of the hermit, and we're still in the second hexagram. This shift happens at 1:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All the times I'm going to give you are going to be Eastern Daylight Time, so you want to convert that to your local time zone. The sun in the second hexagram in the second line is described as genius, unconscious and unlearnable alignment of stimulus and response. The natural, exalted, it's the inner strength to focus and realize, a natural gift for unlearnable knowing. Detrimented, it's genius as madness, knowledge exclusively as power for the enhancement of the ego, the delusion that knowledge is power. And, second line days, this is quality of this is it's waiting for the call. It's waiting for something. And people can get really stuck in just what's going on in their own world. They have that hermit energy that comes with the day. So this really wouldn't be a great day if you're going to have a party because, people aren't likely to come. Also on the 4th, Mercury moves from the 23rd gate, and it moves down to the 8th here. So it's here. So the Ajna center is no longer defined, and the G center is with this movement. So basically, Mercury is the messenger of the gods. This is about communication. This is about the expansion of human consciousness through communication. But Ra talks about the fact that it's not just as words, but also as music. Um, and what do we need to communicate in life? He talked about that we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. What might be communicated with Mercury in the eighth gate? How our individual efforts can help the group reach its goal. This is the gate of contribution, holding together, the basic worth realized in contributing individual efforts to group goals. Mercury's detrimented in the eighth hexagram in the first line, which is honesty, the truthful acceptance of limitation, and recognition that it can only be transcended through sharing. Detrimented, it's withdrawal, the fear of losing individuality in a group environment, the design to share creativity and at the expense of individuality. May the 4th, with Mercury moving into the 8th hexagram, it creates this channel of inspiration with the Earth in the first gate. This energy was going to be present until the 7th, which will be a time period where people will have the courage to stand out from the crowd by being their authentic self. This is very creative and is exhibited as self-expression in their own unique way. As another individual channel, the 4323 is an individual channel. This one is also individual. This brings empowerment to those who model being different and inspirational. So, people might get a little bit, dress a little differently or whatever. But ultimately, by really being an individual, it's not that you're out trying to empower people. It's more that just by you allowing yourself to be you, it gives other people permission to consider allowing themselves to be who they are. And then on the 5th, the sun moves into the 3rd line. So now it's up here in the line of the martyr. It's still in the 2nd gate. This shift happens at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is patience. The teacher who never stops being a student. Exalted, it's the dedication to a lifetime of receptivity with the maturity to accept the process never ends. The recognition that receptivity is a lifelong process. Detrimented, for the revolutionary, patience is a vice. Higher knowing cannot wait and demands expression. So 3rd line days, so now we're in the martyr energy where there's bonds made and broken, trial and error process, so this is a time when you want to maybe be a little more careful on the roads. Be careful of what's in your environment, whether it's a swinging door or somebody swinging elbows. It's a day where we might have bonds made, or we might have bonds broken, or we might have both in the same day. 3rd line day is about a trial and error process. Things will bump into you. It's a good material day. It's a good day to do business and work on the material plane, but you have to be careful because things can go wrong. But these are things that will eventually lead to discovery under that 3rd line energetic. On the 6th, the sun then moves up out of the lower trigram up to the upper trigram into the 4th line of the opportunist, still in the 2nd hexagram. The shift happens at 12:19 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The 4th line of the 2nd hexagram is described as secretiveness, more than modesty, the ability to preserve harmony through discretion. Exalted, the higher goals transcend personal acclaim. The team player, acknowledged as a leader but never the captain, where higher knowing does not have to be expressed to be recognized. Detrimented, loose lips sink ships. The unquenchable fire of the ego that engenders anonymity. uh, um, the ability to keep silent when opportunity arises for expression. And so fourth line days, here's where we have a shift in our perspective to from looking inward when we're in the lower trigram to starting to look outward in the upper trigram. This is brings the fourth line energy. So we have these themes of friendship, of companionship, of networking. Fourth line days are great for social interactions. People are more open to networking, to being friendly and social. Also on the 6th, Venus moves from the 25 to the 17. So right up here. And Venus is very powerful, but also deeply understood according to Ra. It brings morality. It's about natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us. What disturbs you on a moral level? Your design and personality, Venus's, will tell you the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life. If you do not act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in its retribution. In the 17, Venus is about the morality of opinions. It's called following, the ancient law that those who wish to rule must know how to serve. Venus is detrimented in the first line of the 17. This is openness. Detrimented, it's a tendency to limit openness to aesthetically pleasing stimuli. The possibility to limit opinions to what is pleasing. And May 7th, the sun then moves into the 5th line. So now we're in the line of the heretic. It's still in the 2nd hexagram. The shift happens at 11:33 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 5th line of the 2nd hexagram is intelligent application, exalted, reasoned management of resources. Higher knowing is a gift for strategy. Detrimented, the inability to share responsibility or recognize the ability of others. Higher knowing as an exclusively individual and selfish process. And so, again, 5th line here, this is a heretical day. It's a day of suspicion, but also of universalization. Like something could leak out and spread very rapidly like a virus, like a YouTube video that gets millions of viewings or a Facebook post that goes viral. There's a great deal of suspicion and paranoia on a 5th line day. Although I tend to think that it's only paranoia if they're not out to get you. And sometimes they are if you're not meeting their expectations. The impacts, this impacts the nature of relationships. It's about projection, but also seduction are themes of the 5th line day. And then also on the 7th, Mercury moves out of the 8th line. So we change this definition, and it moves into the 20th gate here. And we talked about Mercury earlier. It's about communication. It's it's about what you communicate in life. So what might be communicated when we have Mercury in the 20th? Well, being in the now. This is the gate of the now. Contemplation, recognition, and awareness in the now transforms understanding into right action. Mercury is in the 20th gate in the 2nd line. This is superficiality, a reliance on shallowness, exalted, the raising of superficiality to an art form, the sloganeer, superficial expression as an art form, detrimented, superficial expression of the personality, the expression of the superficial personality are all the how it's documented in the Ray-B Ching. On the 8th, the sun moves up into the role models, the 6th line of the 2nd hexagram. This shift happens at 10:48 a.m., again, Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 6th line of the 2nd hexagram is fixation, unable and unwilling to see the whole process, exalted, the intellect that becomes absorbed in the constant rationalization, higher knowing that's extremely narrow in its receptivity. Detrimented, the need for security may distort awareness to its ultimate perversion, destructiveness, the higher self absorbed in the mundane and the need for security. So 6-line day, we're on the roof of the hexagram, that role model. Ra talks about not getting stuck with our heads in the clouds because you'll end up having something bang into your kneecaps. It's a day where there's a real lack of focus on what's going on around us. Folks might be looking beyond what's happening in their immediate environment. What's going to happen in the future, what's happening down the road rather than what's happening right here. So like a 3rd-line day, there might be certain dangers like not seeing a car coming or not seeing a bill coming because we're looking beyond that. But your strategy and authority should be, your safety net in that situation. Now on the 9th, the sun moves out of the 2nd hexagram, and the Earth moves out of the 1st, and they move into the 43 and the 23. So we get that channel back as stated before. So we've got structuring back, and so the sun's in the 23, the Earth is in the 43. The gate, so the 43rd gate is insight, breakthrough. This shift happens at 10:04 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, with the sun in the 23rd gate of assimilation, splitting apart, amorality, the awareness and understanding that leads to acceptance of diversity. The sun in the 23-1 of proselytization, the attempt to undermine one set of values for another. Exalted, the sage, who in the extreme can defend evil as part of the greater good. The powerful expression of insight, which will undermine established values. Detrimented, the missionary, whose very light brings darkness. The powerful expression of insight, which will produce negative effects. So again, now we're starting a new hexagram, so we're back down, we're on the 1st line here. So again, we're back more in a personal process, more of an inward looking process. 1st line, again, it's fear, it's anxiety that gets stimulated and then wants to be investigated, wants to be researched, and that's, so again, it's a great day to look into things, but not really a great day to make things happen, So if there's something that you feel you need to investigate, the 1st line energy is nice for that. I mean, if you don't have anything or your strategy and authority isn't pointing you that way, follow that. Go see where that takes you. But if it is there, you may even notice other people who are starting to look into things under the 1st line energy. So again, we've got the sun in the 23, we've got the Earth in the 43, along with Saturn is in the 43. So the channel of structuring is going to be with us until May 15th. This is about individuals having amazing insights that require, like I said, 2 conditions to be fulfilled for these insights to be recognized by others. First of all, if you find you have a brilliant idea, an epiphany, you still have to wait for somebody to invite you to talk about it. And then the second thing is, if you do get the invitation, then you need to also explain it as a step-by-step process so that your audience can methodically understand how you made this quantum leap. So even though you might have gone from point A to point Z, you still have to say A and then B and C and go through each step. Or like when I was in school doing long division, I could look at those problems and put the answer right down. But the teacher would say, you have to show your work. And that's what we're talking about here with the channel of structuring, is if you arrive at some brilliant idea, you still need to be able to explain each of the steps in order to have your insight really be recognized. And I suspect since most people are not going to be aware of this information, it might be where people just blurt things out right off the top of their minds. So I suspect that this will be a time period where we encounter many more freaks than geniuses in this time period while we have the channel of structure. And then the 10th, the sun moves into the second line. So again, we're back into the line of the hermit of the 23rd hexagram. The shift happens at 9:21 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 23-2 is described as self-defense, the need to abandon tolerance when survival is threatened. Exalted, the principle of preservation at its most acute, the abandonment of tolerance when individual expression is threatened, detrimented satisfaction with just protecting oneself by fending off hostility, the defense of individual expression in the face of hostility. So second lines days, again, people are waiting for the call. They're not necessarily out at socializing, but so if you want to have somebody, you might have to call them. Anyway, on the 10th, Mercury moves from the 20th gate to the 16th gate, which means we have this talent, this definition here. Place the paper. All right. Which then brings this splenic center definition. All right, and again, we talked about Mercury being about communications, and so what's Mercury going to want to communicate in the 16? It's going to want to communicate about skills. This is the gate of skills, and it's enthusiasm, the great art of enriching life by harmonic channeling of energy. Mercury's detrimented in the 16-1 as delusion, false enthusiasm, detrimented the public communication of inevitably unrealized claims, the tendency to express fantasy as fact. With Mercury in the 16 and Mars in the 48, this gives us the channel of the wavelength, the design of talent, and it will be with us just for a day until May 11th. This is a collective logic channel, which is for those folks who have this in their chart, is about reaching some level of mastery through practice. And my favorite story of this channel is about the Beatles, because John Lennon had the 48, Paul McCartney had the 16, or has the 16, and John Lennon, actually, he learned banjo first from his auntie. And when he got a guitar, he just tuned it like a banjo because he didn't know how to tune a guitar. And then when he met Paul McCartney knew how to tune the guitar. So Paul McCartney had the skills to teach John Lennon the correct way to tune the guitar. And when you think about the combination of those two individuals, the talent comes from John Lennon's depth and Paul McCartney's skills. And then when I think about them separating, at the end of the Beatles and their solo projects, when I think about this, John Lennon's song Imagine to me has a lot more depth than Band on the Run by Paul McCartney. So we can really see that they both had these two parts that when they brought together, gave them talent. And then when they went their separate ways, we see much more emphasis in John Lennon on depth and the emphasis with Paul McCartney on skills. Not to say Paul McCartney didn't have some depth or that John Lennon didn't have skills. everybody's got something, but these were things that were really dominant in their design, and when they came together, we all benefited from the music that came from their channel of talent. So let's see. This is the channel is also about caring skills. But given this is really a short period of time for this channel to be defined by the program, it's really hard to consider how this is going to condition people. We might find folks who are engaged in the repetition of some type of creativity to make gradual improvement. Collective logic creativity is actually different than individual creativity. This is creativity that's earned through hard work and commitment that's to be shared with the collective, where as an individual creativity is about empowerment in the now. For those of us who do not have splenic definition, Ra warned that we might let go of something that actually is good for us when there's a transit that defines our splenic center. So the sun's moved through is moving through the 2nd, the 23rd, the 8th, and the 20th hexagrams, which are all gates that are associated with the Maia god's head. Maia is the eldest of the 7 sisters, the Pleiades in Greek mythology. She is identified with an ancient Italic goddess of spring, and the month of May is named after her. With the sun entering into the 2nd hexagram, we began the quarter of civilization in the most yin location on the wheel. This is the feminine, the mother, the birth of civilization emerging from the womb. This is still the program, so it's the mind's interpretation of what the form should be doing in order to survive. And the quarter of civilization is described as from womb to room. Maia is the bringer of spring and all the bounty, the goddess that bestows the qualities of civilization. But the work is up to the female in this archetype. So the work is up to the form, and this becomes a distortion that actually brings about the patriarchy, where the mind believes that it controls the form, and the civilization believes that males are going to control females. But Maia is really here to bring direction and education and expansion that the children need in order to survive. So anyway, no matter what the energies are that are conditioning you during the week, just remember this experience is about being a passenger riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. So enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every single day we have is a blessing. No matter what the dramas are that are beckoning to distract us, we're all here just giving the performance of our lifetime on the world stage. But take some time out to observe the play, observe your movie, as well as act your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. Anyway, I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on May 11th. It should be available on the 10th, when we're going to continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, the New World Birth on Facebook. Just New World Birth. The text is on a blogger blog. All the videos are available on the YouTube channel, New World Birth YouTube channel. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. I'll be discussing the transits of June 2014 and providing some short human design readings to the participants of the Earth Needs Rebel show on Truth Frequency Radio on Monday, June 2nd. I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I'd love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to try to keep these reports freely available. But if you want to get a reading, that's probably the best way to make a donation. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time out to connect with my passion for all these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. Anyway, I'm very grateful for your time and energy and awareness of what we're putting out here, and I look forward to connecting in the future. Peace, everybody.